So welcome to this Penn Literary Salon. I'm Arifa Akbar from the Independent newspaper. I'm really thrilled to be here to talk to Kyung-Suk Shin, and who's a best-selling novelist from South Korea, and Yuna, who's going to be translating for us. We've got half an hour, so I'm going to pack a lot in, and I want to spend 10 minutes at the end asking you to ask Kyung-Suk anything you'd like. Kyung-Suk's been publishing for 3 decades now. She's been translated widely, won many prizes. Significantly, in 2012, she was the first woman to win the Man Asian Literary Prize with Please Look After Mother, a novel over here that's sold millions of copies, more than 2 million copies. She's since written I'll Be Right There. I want to talk about Please Look After Mother, but I'd love also for Kyung-Suk to tell us about the most recent novel, which is out in America, or will soon be out, but it's looking for a publisher here. So it'd be good to talk about both those novels today. Please Look After Mother is a story that absolutely grips you and unsettles you from its very first sentence. The first sentence is, "It's been 1 week since Mother went missing." So what follows is this mysterious story of an elderly woman who gets split up from her husband at Seoul Station, and she disappears. She gets lost and disappears. The story hinges on that one incident around her disappearance and the family and the effect on her family. But it's about so much else. It's about aging, illness, the role of women in traditional Korean society, how this is changing, about migration from country to city, and its impact on the family. But most of all, it's a story about motherhood. Those are all the things I think it's about. Kyung-Suk, will you tell us what it's about for you and what brought you to write it? Was it a newspaper article or missing persons report?
이 작품은 제가 2008년에서 2009년 사이에 1년 동안 쓴 작품인데, 그러니까 쓴 기간은 1년 걸렸는데 내 마음속에서는 아주 오랫동안 쓰여졌던 작품이에요. 내가 16살 때 한국에서 서울 이렇게 시골에서 서울로 올라오던 날에 우리 어머니하고 함께 서울로 오게 되었는데, 그냥 밤기차를 타고 이렇게 서울로 오게 됐어요. 근데 그때 어머니의 어떤 고단한 얼굴을 이렇게 보게 됐어요. 그래서 그때 나는 이제 작가가 되어야 되겠다는 생각을 이미 그때 하고 있었어요. 그래서 언젠가 내가 저 도시로 가서 언젠가 내가 작가가 된다면 저 고단해 보이는 엄마에게 바치는 아주 아름다운 소설을 써봐야 되겠다라고 생각한 게 이 소설의 어떤 씨앗이라고 할 수 있습니다.
Yuna.
I wrote this book from 2008 to 2009, so it took me 1 year to write. But actually, it's been incubating in myself for a very long time. I left home at 16 years old to go to the city. I left my home in the countryside to go to Seoul, and I took the night train with my mother. And that was when I really saw my mother's face. It looked so weary and careworn. And at the time, I already knew I wanted to be a writer when I grew up. And I thought that if I ever become a writer in the city, I want to write a really beautiful book for my mother, who has so many cares in her life. And that was really how this novel germinated in myself.
And it is a deeply beautiful, moving book. It's also it's very sad, but it is just a very moving picture of a mother. It's It's an old-fashioned mother. She's an old-fashioned mother. She's has a very self-sacrificing idea of how to be a mother and how to be a wife. She's self-abnegating. Her desires are secret and secondary to everybody else's. Her daughters are very different from her. They're progressive. I wonder why you decided to put her, this very old-fashioned country woman mother, in the center of this novel.
내 생각으로는 우리가 지금 이 현대인이 지금 현대인으로 살고 있는 이 순간을 위해서 많은 것을 잊어버리고 살고 있는 것 같아요. 그 중에서 가장 이렇게 가장 가까이 있는 존재, 특히 그 엄마라는 존재는 이 작품 속에서는 이렇게 잃어버리는 걸로 되지만 이렇게 잃어버리기 전에 실제로 잃어버리기 전에 우리 마음 속에서 이미 잊고 사는 그런 존재가 엄마라고 생각했고요. 그게 이제 상징적으로 우리 이렇게 현대인으로서 살고 있는 이 순간이 너무나 바쁘고 또 많이 빠르게 뭔가가 변화하고 뭔가를 이렇게 상실하게 되어 있는 그런 구조 속에서 우리가 지켜나가야 될 것, 그래도 끝까지 우리가 잃어버리지 말아야 될 것을 생각하다 보니까 그 중에서 그 엄마라는 그 상징성이 이 작품 속의 주제가 되었어요.
Yuna?
In our modern lives, we forget so many things every day, especially those who are nearest and dearest to us. In the book, the mother is lost, but before she is lost, we have already forgotten her. So she's already disappeared even before she was lost. And this symbolizes to me how in our modern lives, we lose something every day because we are so busy and so many things change so fast. I thought that we should have something that we should keep and protect no matter what. And to me, that was the mother. And the mother is the symbol of all those things that we should preserve.
And she's a really powerful symbol. What's also really powerful is this contrast between country and city here. The mother is from the country, just as you were brought up in the country and migrated to Seoul. The mother is a country woman. She's at odds with the city. Her children are natives of the city. They're comfortable there, but significantly, the mother gets lost in the city. She can't operate in it. And I wonder whether you could talk about sort of the generational split caused by urban migration. There's a real distancing between the mother and her daughters. The daughters are city people. So will you talk a little about that shift and the country and city?
물론 한국의 문제이기도 하죠. 어떤 농촌과 도시와의 차이, 또 기성세대와 지금 아주 전통 사회와 지금 현대 사회의 어떤 불통, 소통되지 않는 점들, 그런 단절이 문제이기도 한데 이 소설 안에서는 단순히 그런 그 한국 안에서 일어나는 일이라고 나는 생각하지 않았고, 우리가 그러니까 아주 소중하게 여기고 있는 뭔가를 잃어버리고 나서야 그 가치를 알게 되는, 그게 얼마나 중요한 것이었는지를 참 역설적이게도 존재하고 있을 때 느끼면 좋을 텐데, 우리 인간이라는 존재가 좀 약간 모순이 있다고 생각해요. 그래서 이렇게 잃어버리고 난 뒤에야 그 가치를 진심으로 깨닫게 되는 그런 과정을 쓰고 싶었고, 그래서 이 소설은 엄마를 잃어버렸지만 이 엄마를 잃어버리는 순간 이 가족들이 이 엄마를 찾아다니면서 오히려 엄마를 다시 자기 마음속으로 이렇게 되찾는 그런 소설이기도 하다고 생각합니다.
Yuna?
It's true that it's a Korean phenomena, the shift from the urban to rural society and the lack of communication between the older generation and the younger generation, between the traditional and the new. But when I was writing this novel, I didn't limit this to Korean society. I believe that this is happening everywhere in the world. And to me, this book is about losing something that was so precious to you, but you appreciate its value only after it's already
Yeah.
been lost. That's the ironic nature
Yes.
of human beings. And that's the process I wanted to write about. And after the family loses the mother, they start to remember all the things that they forgot about her, and so they became to reclaim her memory in their hearts.
말하자면 이제 이 소설의 첫 문장 아까도 말했듯이 그 첫 문장 It's been one week since mom went to missing이라는 그 첫 문장이 읽으면서 이 소설은 엄마를 잃어버리면서 시작되지만 읽는 독자들은 자기 엄마를 마음속으로 만나는 거죠. 그렇게 함으로써 지금 이렇게 우리가 까마득하게 잊어버리고 있는 어떤 전통이라는 문제 그리고 그 엄마라는 상징성 예를 들자면 아주 어린 생명을 성장시켜서 자기 역할을 할 수 있게 다른 세상으로 내보내고 아주 작은 것들을 살아가게 돌보고 하는 그런 엄마라는 상징성을 잃어버린 이 현대 사회와 이렇게 우리가 무엇을 잃어버렸는지 생각할 수 있는 그런 그러니까 전통과 현대의 어떤 이렇게 소통 역할 그런 소통 역할을 했으면 좋겠다고 생각했죠.
This book starts with the sentence, "It's been 1 week since mother went missing." But so in the book, the mother has disappeared. That's the first thing that happens. But the reader, when they read the sentence, they actually are thinking about their mothers. It makes them think about their mothers, and so they're meeting their mothers when the book starts. And so we are forgetting so many things from the past, and the mother symbolizes how the mother is a presence who takes care of and nurtures everything that is small and weak and helps them grow and become members of society. So it's a very powerful symbol, and I wanted to remind the reader that we should think of this and try to communicate what we've lost between the past and the present.
Yes, and it's it's an anatomy of remembrance. It's sort of looking at each family member and their version of their mother in their memory, which I think it's fantastically done as a patchwork. In some ways, it's very sad because it made me think of intimacy within the family. The mother's remained unknowable. Her children don't really know her, and neither does her husband, and they only acknowledge this when she's gone. So there's a contradiction about family, this question of whether we really know the people we're supposed to be closest to. And even a character says that she no longer, she realized at some point she no longer knew her mother. This mother got a secret self. She's done secret work. She's got a secret man friend. It's quite a bleak reflection on the family and how we really don't pay attention, isn't it?
그러니까 우리는 이제 특히 그 엄마라는 존재를 생각할 때는 처음부터 나의 엄마로 태어난 사람으로 알고 있죠, 보통. 그냥 할래요?
When we think of mothers, we always think of them that they've been born mothers. They were just
Yes.
born that
그런데
way.
뭐 사실은 엄마도 나처럼 아주 어린 시절이 있고 또 다른 엄마의 뱃속에서 10달 동안 이렇게 웅크리고 있다가 이 세상에 울면서 태어났다는 거. 그리고 무엇보다도 나처럼 엄마라는 말을 이 세상에서 처음 배운 엄마도 이 세상에서 처음 배운 말이 그 엄마라는 말이었다는 거. 그런 존재라는 거. 그렇게 강하고 뭐든지 다 나를 위해서 해줄 것 같은 그런 느낌으로 우리는 엄마를 대하지만 사실은 엄마 자체도 아주 나약하고 상처가 많고 큰 의미로 말해서 엄마 자체도 엄마가 필요한 사람이었다는 거. 그런 거를 이렇게 한번 좀 생각할 수 있었으면 나 자신이 평소에 그런 생각을 못하고 지냈기 때문에 이 소설 속에 그대로 이렇게 표현이 된 거죠.
Our mothers, they had childhoods just like we did, and they grew in someone else's bellies for 10 months, and they were born, they cried out, and that's how they became to exist in this world. Your mother is such an important person to you. It's the first words you learn how to speak. She's that kind of presence to you. She's always there for you. She's the person who can solve all your problems, or at least to try to. But the truth is that mothers are only human beings. They're also fallible, and mothers need mothers themselves. And I wanted to call attention to that because it took me some time to realize that myself.
And I want to bring our attention to the legacy of war in this book too, because at the heart it's about family and it's about motherhood. But on its edges, there's the war with North Korea. It's happened. It lingers in the background, in the sort of the lingering fear within the older generation, and the material deprivation, the legacy of that. Something that the younger generation can't really relate to. I wonder why was it that you didn't want to crowd this story with politics and with war, because it's very much kept very subtly in the minds of the older characters.
이 엄마를 부탁해라는 작품 뒤에는 그 어느 소설이나 다 그 마찬가지라고 봅니다. 다 내가 쓰는 소설만이 아니라 그 어떤 다른 작가가 쓰는 소설도 그 작가 자신이 살고 있는 그 사회의 역사, 지난 역사 그리고 현재가 서로 대비되면서 등장하게 되어 있고, 이 소설 속에 엄마가 살았던 시대는 한국 사회로서는 한국 전쟁과 또 그 이후에 그 가장 큰 사건으로는 한국 전쟁이 이 엄마 시대에 남아 있는 거고, 그 전쟁을 겪은 세대와 전쟁을 겪지 않은 세대는 틀림없이 어떤 사물이나 생명이나 그리고 자기 생활을 꾸려 나가는 태도나 이런 것에서 완전히 다르죠. 그래서 서로 그러려고 그런 건 아니지만 자기가 경험한 것들이 다른 시대에 서로 살기 때문에 서로 알 수 없는 그런 존재가 한 가족이 돼서 살고 있다고 생각하고요. 특히 한국 사회 같은 경우에는 아주 굉장히 그 어떤 역동적으로 변화하기 때문에 그 변화를 각각 그 경험이 다른 세대들이 지금 한국 사회에 모두 모여 살고 있어요. 그래서 문제도 많고 또 어떤 단절된 점도 많고 그렇죠. 특히 전쟁을 겪은 세대들이 갖고 있는 아픔 같은 거를 지금 젊은이들이 이해하기는 어려운 시대죠.
If you look at any book, not just my books, but books written by anybody, there's always going to be this tension between the history and the present. It's always going to be there in the background, no matter what book you look at. And it's true that the mother in this book, she's lived through the Korean War, so her experience is enormously different from that of her children. For her generation, this was the defining instant of their age. And so the younger generation, their lives and the way they think about things, everything is going to be different from the older generation. And so although the older generation and the younger generation don't intentionally want to be at odds with each other, they're not looking for a fight, because their experiences are so different, they become almost like strangers to each other. And it's like that not just in Korea, but I think in other countries as well. But in Korea, as the society has changed so much and so rapidly in the recent few decades, I think that change is more exemplified. There are many problems, and as you said, the problem of disconnect between the older generation and the younger generation.
Absolutely, and there's an emotional, greater emotional distance because the children of this mother can't really identify with the poverty and the fear that the war sort of created within that generation. But it's so beautifully done. What I noticed is that in Please Look After Mother, there's we could talk more about illness and aging, but this is really, you know, a key theme of the book. You know, getting older, aging, whereas I'll Be Right There is really about youth, and it's about the youth of the 1980s who were very politically active. There was that transition period from military, you know, rule to post 1987 elections to democracy, and it struck me that you've risen out of this generation too, because you're supposed to be part of what is called the 386 generation, this sort of group of this movement of female novelists who born in the 60s, grew up very politically active in the 80s, very different lives to those of their parents. I wonder how much of this latest novel is about those years for you. And also, if I could ask you, do you relate to this movement, the 386 movement? And, you know, where are you now with the movement that 30 years on? That's a lot of questions in there.
이 I'll Be Like There는 한국 소설 제목으로는 어디선가 나를 찾는 전화벨이 울리고인데 영문으로 번역되면서 I Will Be Like There라고 이렇게 번역이 되었습니다. 그럼 그거는 뭐 따로 있는 건 아니고 소설 안에 있는 소제목이 이제 타이틀이 된 거죠. 근데 여기에 나오는 그 I Will Be Like The의 뒷배경은 한국의 1980년대 상황이지만 나는 한 번도 이 작품 안에 지금이 1980년대 이야기다라고 이 소설이 1980년대 이야기다라고 밝히지는 않았어요. 그 시절은 나의 20대가 담겨 있는 시절이기도 하고 또 한국 사회로서는 굉장히 어려운 그러니까 민주주의를 쟁취하기 위해서 대학에 다니던 그 학생들이 강의실보다 거리에서 시위하는 시간이 더 많았던 그런 시기입니다. 그래서 I Will Be Like The에 나오는 그 주인공들도 그런 젊은이들 이야기예요. 그들이 20살이 된 그들이 어떤 사회를 변화시키기 위해서 투쟁도 하고 또 첫사랑을 만나서 가슴 설레이기도 하고 아주 존경하는 스승을 만나서 그 스승으로부터 어떤 큰 영향을 받기도 하고 하면서 하는 그런 일종의 뭐 어떤 성장 소설이기도 하고 청춘 소설이기도 하고 연애 소설이기도 한 그런 작품인데요. 이걸 다 언제 번역을 하죠? 통역을 하죠?
네, 여기까지 통역하도록 하겠습니다. The Korean title of I'll Be Right There was actually Somewhere a Phone is Ringing for Me. But the title of I'll Be Right There was the title of one of the chapters in the book, and the publisher eventually decided to make that the title of the whole book. As you said, the book is set in 1980s Korea, but I never explicitly say so in the book. The 1980s for me was when I was in my 20s, and for Korea, it was when people were achieving democracy. The society was moving into a democratic one. And it was a time when, if you were a university student, you spent more time demonstrating than studying in the classroom. So this book is really a story about how it was to be young at that time. It's about the story of people in their 20s who are fighting to change society, how they fall in love, how they get a mentor and are influenced by them. And it's about all these things.
Gosh,
근데 여기 이렇게 한국의 어떤 정치 상황이나 1980년대 이야기라고 정확히 밝히지 않은 이유는 이런 이야기들이 지금도 계속되고 있다고 생각했기 때문에 시대를 지정함으로써 거기에 이 작품이 메이는 걸 원치 않았기 때문이에요. 예를 들자면 10년 후에 읽어도 그 당시의 청춘 시절을 통과하고 있는 그런 젊은이들이 공감할 수 있는 언제나 그때의 가장 젊은 친구들이 공감할 수 있는 소설로 읽히기를 바래서 이 아주 암울하고 비극적인 그 한국의 1980년대 상황을 썼지만 그 시대를 그때가 그 시대라고 이 소설 안에서 전혀 밝히지 않았습니다.
I like to elaborate about why I never said it was explicitly about the 1980s in Korea. It is, but I didn't want to say that because I think that this story is still in progress. And I wanted the younger generation, whoever is in their 20s, to be able to read this book and relate to it, no matter what age they are living in. So that's why I never said it was explicitly about the 80s, although I did write about it.
Right.
저 엄마를 부탁해를 쓰고 나서 제가 마치 무슨 엄마 이야기, 그러니까 어떤 기성세대 나이 든 엄마를 대변하는 사람처럼 이렇게 인식이 돼서 그게 굉장히 불편했어요. 한동안. 그래서 그에 완전히 반대되는 아주 젊은이들의 이야기를 쓰고 싶은 마음이 안에서 솟구쳤고 그래서 탄생한 작품이기도 합니다.
After I wrote Please Look After Mother, I suddenly became the advocate for all the older generation in Korea. That was something of a burden in some ways. So I wanted to write about something completely different, about someone young, and that's how I came to write about this book.
I really look forward to a British publisher giving that to us, you know, soon. It's already, as I say, it's coming out in America in June. But actually, I'm going to cut my question short at this stage because we haven't got long, and I'd really like to open up for questions for any of you. If you have any questions about Please Look After Mother or the sort of revolutionary parts of I'll Be Right There, or any other questions that have popped into your head while we've been talking. What are you working on now after
I
this?
loved your book so much, and I just so excited to be here and hear you speak about them. And I'm wondering what you're working on now. What can we look forward to seeing and reading soon?
Thank you.
지금 나는 작품을 쓰지 않고 여기에 있습니다.
Right now I'm not writing, I'm sitting right here.
내가 쓰려고 하는 작품은 두 가지가 지금 마음 안에서 섞여서 하나로 정해지지 않고 있어서 지금 고민을 계속하고 있어요.
I'm thinking about two ideas I want to write about, but they're mixing with each other, so I'm not fully decided yet.
하나는 어느 날 갑자기 이렇게 앞을 못 보게 된 사람의 이야기를 쓰려고 합니다. 장편 소설이 될 것이고요.
One of them's a novel about someone who suddenly goes blind. That's one idea.
하나는 네 사람의 어떤 실패한 사랑 이야기라고 할까요? 옴니버스 형식으로 그 네 사람의 이야기가 꼬리를 물면서 서로 연결되는 아주 아름답고 비극적이고 실패한 이야기를 써보려고 합니다.
And the other idea that's in my mind is a love story about the love lives of four different people that are all interconnected in some way, but it's about a failed love, very tragic love. That's the other idea I have.
I see.
나도 빨리 어느 게 정해져서 당장 내일부터라도 쓸 수 있었으면
I wish
좋겠습니다.
I could make up my mind so I could start writing tomorrow.
Sure. It's made me think this question about research because Please Look After Mother was really a study of dementia because the mother has a sort of she is slowly being taken over by dementia, and I wonder what comes first, such as the idea with the blindness. You know, is it research? Is it the idea? At what point does research come into this for you?
우리가 지금 이렇게 함께 이 장소에 이렇게 있어서 이렇게 우리가 볼 수 있지만 과연 이렇게 볼 수 있는 것만이 전부 다일까? 보이지 않는 세계에 대한 어떤 호기심, 그리고 또 매혹 같은 게 저한테는 있어요. 보이지 않는 것이 더 지금 우리 눈앞에 보이지 않는 어떤 에너지, 어떤 일들이 더 중요하게 여겨지고 그게 그 파장이 우리 인생에서 굉장히 큰 역할을 하고 있다고 생각이 돼요. 그래서 우리 어느 날 모든 것을 선명하게 잘 볼 수 있는 사람이 갑자기 아무것도 볼 수 없게 되었을 때 이 세상은 어떤 빛깔일지 어떻게 그걸 그 암흑을 견디고 인간이 또 나가게 될지 그게 너무 궁금하고 내가 그걸 어떻게 완성해 나갈지 나 자신도 굉장히 그거를 궁금해하고 있는 그런 상태입니다.
Right now we're sitting here and we can all see each other. We're living in the visible world, but I've always had a great curiosity and an attraction towards the world that is not visible to us. And I think that a lot of what's very important and a lot of what has a really big impact on our lives is what happens outside of our sight. So I've always been very curious about that. And if there is somebody who could see everything perfectly, but one day he suddenly could not see anything at all, I wonder how would he cope with such a devastating situation? And I'm also curious to see how I could write about that kind of challenging situation.
So it's curiosity that leads to. Are there other questions from anyone else? Yes.
Apologies, it's a while since I read the translation of Please Look After Mother, but if I remember, it's written in the second person.
Yes.
It's as if you are talking to me, the reader, directly. And that's quite a startling way of writing. Is the original Korean in the same way, in the second person? And what made you write it in the second person?
That's an excellent question on my list as well, so I'm really glad you asked it because I was curious.
굉장히 이 멋있는 질문을 해주셔서 감사합니다.
Very good question. Thank you for it.
이 소설을 거의 이루고 있는 형식이에요. 모든 게 다 담겨져 있는 형식이죠. 그냥
Well, this form says everything about the novel. That's all I can say.
그러니까 어느 날 갑자기 엄마를 잃어버리고 난 다음에 첫 장은 딸이 등장해서 그동안의 자기와 엄마의 관계가 어떤 것이었는지 생각하고 두 번째 장은 아들이 등장해서 역시 같은 과정을 반복합니다. 그리고 세 번째 장은 아버지가 등장해서 또 역시 자기 엄마, 이 자식들의 엄마, 이 자기 아내에 대한 생각을 하죠. 그리고 네 번째 장에 엄마가 등장을 합니다. 등장을 해서 유일하게 이 소설에서 1인칭 나는이라고 표현되는 사람은 엄마뿐입니다. 그러니까 실종되고 지금 없는 사람만 나는이라고 1인칭으로 말하면서 사실은 누가 실종되었는지 모르게 되는 거예요. 엄마만 1인칭으로 여기에 존재하고 있는 거죠. 그렇게 어떤 걸 좀 어떤 이렇게 정확한 것을 좀 흔들므로써 다른 시각을 좀 보게 해주고 싶었고요. 가장 중요한 의미는 그냥 한 여자가 엄마가 되는 순간에 나는이라고 말하면서 사는 것 때보다 자기 자신을 나눠서 다 이렇게 나눠주고 사는 삶이라고 생각했기 때문에 이 소설 안에서 엄마만 유일하게 나는이라고 하기 위해서 이 소설의 그 인칭들을 그렇게 모두 다 2인칭, 3인칭으로 하고 엄마만 나는이라고 했습니다. 그것이 작가인 나로서는 16살 때 가장 엄마에게 바치는 가장 아름다운 이야기를 쓰고 싶었는데 소설을 완성하고 보니 아름다운 이야기가 아니라 가장 슬픈 이야기가 되어버렸어요. 그래서 이 세상에 이미 엄마로서 일생을 다 산 사람, 지금 엄마로 살고 있는 사람, 또 앞으로 엄마가 될 사람들에게 바치는 그 유일한 작가로서의 유일한 헌사가 엄마한테만 1인칭을 준 것, 나는이라고 말하게 하는 것, 그렇게 하기 위해서 그런 형식을 취했습니다.
Okay. If you look at this book, after the mother disappears, the first chapter is about the daughter. It's written in the voice of the daughter, reflecting about her relationship with her mother. The second is written from the point of view of the son. The third is from the point of view of the husband. And the fourth chapter is written from the point of the view of the mother herself, and it's the only chapter that's written in the first person. So she's the person who's missing, but she's the only person who's talking in the first person. And you wonder, is this person really missing? It's kind of, it shakes your perception of what's going on so far. And so I really wanted to shake that up by providing this different perspective. The other thing I want to talk about is when you become a mother, you so often lose your own self. You stop being able to say I. You stop talking in I sentences because you have to give so much of yourself to the rest of your family. And when I was 16 years old and decided I really wanted to write the most beautiful book about mothers for my mother, I did eventually write this book, but when I finished it, I realized it wasn't the most beautiful book about mothers, it was the saddest book about mothers ever. And so this book, the way I wrote only the mother's chapter in the first person voice, is my gift to everybody who used to be a mother, who are mothers now, and who will be mothers in the future.
조금 아쉬웠던 것은 영어로 번역되면서 한국에는 나는 이게 딸은 너 you라고 되어 있고 아들은 he라고 되어 있고 아버지는 당신은이라고 되어 있습니다. 네. 그리고 엄마는 I인데 이 영어로서 그러니까 아버지를 한국어로서는 당신이라고 할 수 있는 그런 분위기가 있어요. 그러니까 아내가 남편한테 호칭을 할 때 부르는 당신이라는 말 속에는 어떤 함께 사는 어떤 정 같은 게 묻어 있는 호칭인데 영어로 하면서는 전부 딸도 you, 아들은 he, 아버지도 you로 돼 있어요. 그래서 그게 조금 그 당신이라는 말이 영어로 정확하게 번역되지 않는다는 거 그거에 대한 아쉬움은 좀 있었습니다.
I'd just like to add one thing. In the English translation, what I felt was lost from the original Korean is that everybody, when they're thinking about the mother, they think of her as you. But in the original Korean, if you're somebody's spouse, there's a word for them, that person, and it's 당신. It means you, but it's more formal. It's like vous in French, if you speak French. And it connotates intimacy. It means you're really close to that person. And the husband thinks about his wife in this 당신, you, but in the translation that was lost.
I wouldn't. I think it was a very sad book, but it's also a very beautiful book as well. So I disagree with you there. But I hate to cut this short, but we have to. So I'm really sad because there's more of a discussion. I'm sure you'll have questions. If you do, I think that I'm not sure, but I don't know if Kyung Suk is around, but. There's certainly books being sold. Please Look After Mother is being sold over there. And the other one, I believe. So you can go over there and buy either one. It was really thrilling to speak to you, Kyung Suk. Thanks, Yuna. So thanks to both of you, and thanks for, you all for listening and coming. Thank you.
감사합니다.